Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into something I think resonates with almost everyone in revenue or enablement roles. It's that strategic intelligence bottleneck, that friction point.
It really is. It's that constant question, isn't it? You've got a high-stakes meeting, maybe a new opportunity pops up, and you need that deep dive, that competitive analysis, or that really solid account insight. Where does it actually come from?
Yeah, and if the honest answer is something like, well, we pull someone off their main job, they spend days, maybe a week, scraping websites, digging through old PDFs, internal wikis, and then you just kind of hope they stitch together, right?
Exactly. And that's not just time loss. That's burning strategic value. You've got these incredibly smart, high-value people, and they end up acting like, document hunters instead of the strategists they need to be.
Right, just chasing bits of information.
So that's really the mission for this deep dive today. We want to look at how we can fundamentally change that whole workflow. We're going to unpack this idea of AI deep research agents. We'll use the Genie Assistant Deep Research as a sort of case study. The whole idea behind this tech is to pull those smart people out of the weeds, out of that info-gathering slog, and get them straight to the context they need to make confident, evidence-based decisions.
Okay, so let's assume this works. We automate that deep research piece. What are the immediate wins for an organization? What do they gain right away?
Well, we've kind of boiled it down to 4 really critical benefits. And it's more than just saving time, though that's huge. First, you get comprehensive insight synthesis. It reliably pulls together info from lots of different places, maybe sources that wouldn't normally get looked at together.
Okay, so better consolidation.
Yeah. Second, that synthesis actually translates into real evidence-based recommendations. It helps teams move past just relying on gut feelings or intuition.
Which is crucial for big decisions.
Absolutely. Which leads to the third point. Much greater confidence in those strategic choices. Whether it's prepping for a QBR or going after a major deal, you have the data backing you up.
Confidence built on evidence. Got it.
And finally, yes, the big one everyone feels. A massive return of time. You're giving hours, even days, back to your most skilled, most valuable employees.
All right, let's get into the mechanics then, because this is often where things, fall down. We all use Google. We're all playing with basic generative AI now. What makes this an agent doing deep research? How's it different from just a faster summary tool?
That's a great question. The key difference is that it acts more like your dedicated research analyst. It's not just spitting back a list of links or like a single paragraph summary. It delivers a structured multi-section report, a proper deliverable, you could say.
Structured how?
Well, the structure itself is strategic. It forces the output into predefined sections, things like market landscape, competitive weaknesses, key customer pain points, maybe even a strategic recommendation section.
Ah, okay. So it's not just a text dump, it's organized thinking. That right there saves a human hours just imposing structure on messy findings.
Precisely.
But that brings up the scope question. A normal search engine, it searches everything. Good strategy needs focus, needs to filter the noise. What's this AI agent actually searching?
And that's where the strategic control comes in. It operates within a more curated environment. Yes, it searches trusted external sources across the web, but, and this is crucial, it integrates approved internal content too.
Internal content? Like what?
When we talk about Bigtincan content in this context, we mean the organization's own knowledge base. Things like finalized pitch decks, annual sales playbooks, those vetted case studies, maybe archived analyst reports you've paid for, the stuff the organization trusts.
Okay, so it's blending the latest external signals from the market with the company's own trusted internal knowledge. That sounds really powerful.
It is.
But it also brings up a potential issue, right? Security, verification. What if some of that internal content is biased or just plain out of date? The whole garbage in, garbage out risk. How does the deep research agent stop itself from just creating a beautifully structured but wrong report really efficiently?
That's a critical design consideration. The system prioritizes accountability. It's not designed to be a black box you just blindly trust. The source material we looked at really emphasizes this. Every piece of information, every finding in that report cites its source clearly.
Like footnotes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether it's an internal document title or a URL from the web, it's listed. Auditable. This lets the team verify everything. They can cross-reference data points, maybe challenge an input source if something looks off or conflicts with other knowledge.
Okay, so the human element isn't removed.
Not at all. The human team adds their unique expertise, their judgment, after they review and verify the AI's work. The report is a comprehensive, verifiable starting point, not the final word.
That makes a lot more sense. The AI does the heavy lifting, the assembly, the synthesis. The expert does the critical vetting and applies the final strategic lens.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
And that's how teams can suddenly produce these really detailed market briefs or, competitive summaries in minutes, literally minutes, instead of having, say, a sales enablement manager completely tied up for 2 days, pulling together something similar by hand.
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about that pain point, the reality for so many teams right now. Limited bandwidth. Teams are lean. Everyone's stretched thin, just managing the day-to-day, putting out fires, dealing with customer relationships,
Yeah.
asking them to also be these super thorough, exhaustive research analysts on top of everything else. It feels unrealistic sometimes. It's a huge drain.
It is, and it leads directly to what we call the core research dilemma. Sandra Cantor, who's the director of product marketing at Bigtincan, she put it really well. She said teams are constantly forced to choose between depth and speed when preparing strategic deliverables.
Yeah, I feel that. You either get a quick answer now, but it might be shallow, maybe missing key context.
Right.
Or you say, okay, we need the deep dive, but that means delaying the strategy, pushing back the meeting, waiting maybe a week to feel really confident.
Exactly that choice. And this AI deep research capability, it aims to fundamentally change the physics of that workflow.
Oh.
It's designed to provide in-depth analyses at scale, but without demanding more hours from people who just don't have them.
How does it ensure the depth, though? A human rushing might miss things.
Well, that's the thing. The expectation that a human researcher under pressure is going to catch every single relevant data point across dozens, maybe hundreds of sources. It's just not realistic. The AI, because it processes systematically, helps ensure the research is comprehensive every single time. It doesn't get tired or cut corners because a deadline is looming.
Okay, now let's hone in on something really interesting you touched on earlier. Beyond just summarizing faster or being more comprehensive, it's the AI's ability to find connections, non-obvious links between things. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, this is where it gets really fascinating. The synthetic capability. Think about how human research is, especially under time pressure. You might review documents one after the other, right? Sequentially. The AI can process these huge, varied content sets, text, maybe data from different places simultaneously.
So it sees the whole picture at once.
In a way, yes. So, for example, a human researcher might easily miss that, say, an internal Q1 document mentioning a subtle change in your pricing tiers. Directly correlates with a competitor's sudden, very successful marketing campaign in Q2 that you only saw mentioned on some obscure industry blog.
But the AI might flag that connection.
Exactly. It's designed to highlight that potential causal link, or at least the correlation, immediately. Things a human might only spot after weeks of analysis, if ever.
Wow, okay. That kind of pattern detection, finding the why behind the what, that's absolute gold for competitive intelligence.
Totally. It lets you move from just reporting on what happened to actually understanding the strategic cause and effect. Why did they make that move? What does it mean for us?
It accelerates that strategic leap then.
It really does. It handles the foundational work, drawing those lines between seemingly disparate bits of information. It presents the team with potential high-impact insights, not just a pile of raw data to sift through.
Okay, so this clearly goes way beyond just basic market summaries. Let's dive into the applications. You mentioned users can customize prompts. Give us a couple of detailed examples, maybe 2 or 3 complex scenarios where this kind of capability would be really essential.
Okay, sure. Let's start with competitive intelligence, but specifically for deal pursuit prep. Instead of relying on generic battle cards that might be months old, a sales rep or manager could prompt the AI for something very specific like, generate a strategic brief analyzing competitor X's recent push into the Canadian energy market. Specifically detail their current pricing structure there, any executive leadership changes they've had in the last 6 months, and list known customer pain points based on third-party review sites.
Wow, that's specific.
Right. And the report comes back structured around those exact points, pulling data from web sources, news feeds, maybe internal notes if available. Suddenly, that sales team walks into the pursuit with incredibly precise, timely intelligence.
That's taking enablement from general training right down to immediate, tailored support for a specific deal. Huge difference. What about, say, product strategy or understanding customers better?
Okay, think about customer pain point identification. This is often a struggle, right? Trying to aggregate qualitative feedback scattered everywhere. An enablement team or a product marketing team could task the deep research agent. Generate a comprehensive overview of customer challenges and unmet needs specifically within the fintech vertical. Synthesize this from our internal win-loss reports over the last year, recent external industry analyst commentary, and maybe even relevant regulatory filings.
So it's pulling from completely different types of sources.
Exactly. It processes all that, identifies recurring themes, maybe specific negative language patterns or common workflow gaps mentioned across sources, and it aligns those findings. This gives you a really solid data-backed roadmap for maybe refining product positioning or prioritizing feature development or even crafting new messaging.
I can see that being incredibly valuable.
100%.
And for companies in complex spaces, finance, healthcare, whatever, I imagine regulatory summaries must be a lifesaver.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just the ability to ask it to pull the latest regulatory changes relevant to, say, data privacy in Europe and summarize how they might impact feature Y of your product. And have it pull that from dense legal documents and cross-reference it with your internal feature specs. That's crucial for compliance and risk management.
And the user controls this whole process, you're saying. They decide the focus.
Yes, complete control. You can tell it which sources to prioritize. You can instruct it to cast a wide net across everything for broad discovery, or you could tell it to focus very tightly, maybe just on a specific set of internal strategy documents to ensure absolute consistency with internal messaging for a particular campaign. Very flexible.
Okay, this intelligence engine sounds powerful. Let's connect it back to the day-to-day. Strategic intelligence is only usable if people can actually access it and use it easily within their workflows. So where does this tool actually live? Is it another separate thing people have to log into?
No, and that's key for adoption. The Genie Assistant Deep Research capability is integrated directly into the Bigtincan platform. It's not some standalone tool living off on an island. It's embedded right where sales, marketing, enablement teams are already doing their work, managing their content, executing plays.
Okay, that tight integration is definitely critical. Less friction means more usage. And while you mentioned sales and marketing as obvious primary users, what about the ripple effect? What's the broader cross-departmental impact when this kind of intelligence becomes easily available?
Well, when intelligence becomes more consistent, easily accessible, and frankly, higher quality across the board, the benefits spread naturally. Think about customer success. They can run a deep research query on a key account before a critical renewal conversation to understand any recent shifts or challenges. Big advantage.
Good point.
Enablement teams can use it constantly to build training modules that are always current, always reflecting the latest market dynamics and competitive moves, much more targeted training. And product teams. They get faster access to validated market feedback, competitive intelligence. It helps them make better roadmap decisions quicker.
Let's make that even more concrete. Can you list some specific strategic workflows that this deep research capability fundamentally accelerates or improves?
Yeah, absolutely. This is where you see intelligence becoming truly actionable, moving beyond just being a document stored somewhere. We're talking about dramatically speeding up competitive analysis cycles, making sure the data-driving quarterly business reviews, QBRs, is genuinely exhaustive and current, not just based on last quarter's news. Creating territory planning briefs that are meticulously researched and well-informed, giving reps a real head start. And providing that rapid, comprehensive intelligence needed during those crucial, often time-sensitive, new market evaluation processes. Should we enter this market? What are the real risks and opportunities? Essentially, it helps standardize the depth of strategic thinking and preparation across the entire go-to-market function. So if I were to summarize the real shift here for you, our listener, these AI deep research agents, they're really designed to fundamentally upgrade the role of your strategic professionals. They aim to eliminate that huge burden of manual information gathering, all that time just spent finding the context, which frees up those teams to spend their valuable time immediately applying their unique expertise, their judgment, to actually using that context, using it to drive revenue, make better decisions, and get results.
Which brings us right to the final thought I want to leave you all with today. If that time sink, the manual research, those hours and days of digging, compiling, formatting, if that's no longer the main limiting factor for your already lean team, then what is the highest value strategic activity your team can now prioritize? What becomes possible? Think about the leverage you gain when something like deep research gives you back 10, 20, maybe even 40 hours of your team's week. Hours that can now go into strategic thinking, coaching, planning, executing better. It really shifts the focus, doesn't it?
Right.
From just finding the answer to actually making the best possible decision with it. Something to think about. Until next time on the deep dive.